Hi everyone, this is Hana from South Korea. I would like to talk about the Korean collective trauma today. We have some certain dates, certain colors. Sometimes even just seeing a large crowd can bring it all back. The thought that maybe, just maybe, I'm still alive today is simply because I got lucky. Every April, my heart turns into an ocean. For nearly 10 years, I lived by diving into the sea every day. I know how cold it can be, how terrifying. All the sadness, the longing, the grief, I bury it all in the water. On the day the Sewol Ferry sank in April 2014, I was away on a work trip. I turned on the TV and saw the headline, "A Korean ferry had capsized." The image showed a ship tilted halfway into a dark sea. Then a Korean news channel ticker said, "All students rescued." Relieved, I went to dinner. Suddenly, on a large screen in the restaurant, that same ship appeared again. The news of the full rescue, it was wrong. Hundreds of children were trapped inside. That bizarre, chilling scene, I still remember it vividly. Ansan, the city where the students were from, was close to where I lived. My friends and I went to the memorial altar. It felt like the only thing we could do. Looking at the smiling faces in the photos, I whispered each name. And they were no longer someone else. They became people I knew. The tragedy itself was painful, but what came after was hell. Cowardly adults who took no responsibility. Shady connections. The truth was hidden. 10 years later, we still don't know exactly what happened. When the ferry started sinking, the announcement told the students to stay put inside the ferry. And the children, being good kids, listened. They trusted the adults would come to save them, but no one came. The grieving parents just wanted the truth. Why did my child have to die? How? They left their lives begging for answers, kneeling before politicians, treated like criminals. And when the victims knelt, the demons came out. And university students held a pizza party in front of parents on a hunger strike. Online trolls, who usually hide, showed their faces. I saw the face of evil then. The memory of the entire nation watching 304 people die in real time became a collective trauma for South Korea. We were all helpless witnesses. The feeling of being powerless and the ugly side of our neighbors revealed. It felt like something shifted then. People who might have once felt shame now seemed to believe that siding with the powerful, no matter how cruelly, was better than being a victim. The shamelessness of the evil felt overwhelming. It left us feeling even more helpless, desperate, depressed. The Sewol Ferry tragedy left a deep scar on the soul of our nation. I know that feeling of powerlessness too well. Not long after Sewol Ferry, I left Korea. And on a small remote island far away, I lost my close friends there, Claude. It was his choice. The night before, we laughed and talked. The next morning, he didn't show up for his diving class. He was never late. I went to his house, and what I found made me lose consciousness. I don't remember what happened after that. I blamed myself forever. How could I not have noticed his despair? Even if I had known, could I have stopped him? I swung back and forth between guilt and doubt, thousands of times a day. That suffocating helplessness, the loss, the survivor's guilt, it consumed me for a long time. After that, whenever I saw a big, gentle whale shark while diving, I believed it was the spirit of the Sewol Ferry children or Claude, my friend. That's the burden of the survivors. And then came the COVID-19 pandemic, another layer of collective trauma. The simple act of meeting friends and family was taken away. Fear of an individual virus turns us against each other. The time of isolation left deep internal wounds on all of us. On October 19th, 2022, the pandemic restrictions had finally eased. People were celebrating Halloween. I was at a party with my diving friends on a small island. Suddenly, a friend ran up to me, phone in hand. "Isn't this Korea, Hana?" It was an Instagram live stream. People in the Halloween costumes crushed together and screaming. Another friend laughed. "Oh, Hana, Koreans really know how to party. Is this like a Squid Game?" I laughed too. And then a cold dread washed over me. I grabbed my phone and saw hell unfolded. Suddenly, I felt completely alone on that island. It happened again in my country. Amidst that terrible despair and distance, I had to swallow my scream alone. The next day, my friends all over the island offered condolences. But I couldn't truly share my grief with anyone there. I think that was the moment I knew it was time to go back to Korea. And again, hell unfolded. No apologies, no accountability. Instead, conspiracy theories and mockery fluid society. The government even discouraged using the word tragedy, telling families not to display photos of their loved ones. The terrible hate that surfaced after Sewol Ferry tragedy had spread like a disease. The victims of every following tragedy were attacked. While some tried to comfort the wounded, others sharpened their pain into knives to stab those even weaker. The young people who lost friends in the Sewol Ferry tragedy in their teens went through the pandemic and then lost more friends in Itaewon in their 20s. April was followed by October. Yellow ribbons were joined by purple ribbons. And last winter, our country experienced a martial law for the first time in 45 years. Just recently, news broke that a young firefighter who responded to the Itaewon tragedy had been suffering immensely. After being missing for 10 days, he was found dead. The trigger for my own unhealed trauma was pulled again. I cried quietly for a long time. For him, for all of us, we all felt so pitiful, so fragile. He left a message saying, "I'm sorry." What was he so scared for? The guilt of not being able to save everyone? The pain of living with those horrific memories? The despair over everything that happened afterwards? It must have been all of it. The Itaewon tragedy wasn't over, it was still happening. The firefighter became another victim. His mother became another grieving family member. We remember the face of the Sewol Ferry children, but the faces of the Itaewon victims blur because we weren't allowed to see them. So I forced myself to find the firefighter's face, his name, and hold them in my heart. The only thing I can do is mourn deeply and remember fiercely. It feels like a miracle to survive intact in this country. It's no wonder the entire nation seems to suffer from depression, anger issues, PTSD. Whether we admit it or not, we are living with a collective trauma. Everyone is hurting, but we do nothing. Because we don't know what to do. We've never properly healed from a national tragedy. And at the end of this vast powerlessness lies the sad self-portrait of this nation, the highest suicide rate in the OECD. So what can we do in the face of this overwhelming helplessness? The word tells us to forget. It says you can't move forward if you are stuck in sadness. And faced with this pressure, we slowly become numb. We shut down our hearts to avoid feeling the pain. But numbness isn't healing. It's the slow death of the soul. I believe that longing defeats numbness. Fighting the world's command to forget by desperately missing the friends who are gone. Remembering their voice, their laugh, the time we shared. The pain of the longing is the very proof that I still love them, that my humanity is still alive. Longing is our most fragile, yet most powerful anchor against the giant wave of forgetting. How do we deal with this trauma? Mental health experts say the first step is to establish a sense of safety. After a shocking event, our brain perceives the world as dangerous and stays on high alert. We need to consciously send signals to our body and mind. Right now, right here, you are safe. Simple grounding techniques, feeling your feet on the ground, the touch of cold water, focusing on your breath, can be a lifeline, pulling us from the terror of the past back into the safe present. Like how I found peace on the water, focusing only on my breath. Once we're safe, the next step is mourning and remembering. Trauma often remains as unspeakable memories. Reconstructing these chaotic fragments into a coherent story is essential for healing. Whether you write, draw, or talk to someone safe, give your experience a beginning, a middle, and an end. Naming the wound, calling it tragedy, not an accident. Acknowledging your guilt and powerlessness allow you to observe and understand the trauma as the narrator of your story rather than being controlled by it. Finally, we must not give up on reconnecting with the world. Trauma isolates us. Realize that my personal grief is connected to the collective grief, knowing that my private tears flow into the same ocean as the public tears. That is how we break free from the prison of isolation. In the end, it's about people. Other people are the answer. People can bring disappointment, but people also bring salvation and hope. We are all survivors, witnesses, and testaments for each other. Being a witness isn't just about seeing. It's about remembering against the world that forces us to forget. It's about calling out the names and faces being erased. It's about telling someone your sadness is valid and it's not your fault. We become mirror for each other's memories, holding on to the fading outline of truth. That is the only and the most powerful way we can heal. To look into someone else's wound, you must first find the courage to show your own. We are all just the survivors of this tragedy. And when souls decide to become witnesses for each other, they finally find one another across the vast ocean of grief and arrive at the island of sorrow. Yes, this is how we met. And that's my story so far. If any part of my story resonate with you, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and join our community. And if you have any questions about me or life in Korea or Korean language, let me know in the comments down below. Welcome to Hana's Island. You're safe here now. I will see you soon. Take care.